In 2013, a comedy called Identity Thief, starring Melissa McCarthy and Jason Bateman, was released in theaters. In that same year, a report released by the Consumer Federation of America showed that more than 13 million Americans were impacted by identity theft. In one extreme case, a couple operating out of North Carolina received over $3.5 billion from the federal government by filing tax returns using their neighbors' identities. On July 19, 2001, one of the worst computer worm viruses recorded, known as Code Red, infected over 359,000 computers worldwide, including the White House's server, by overflowing Microsoft's IIS web server. A Quebec employee of IBM filed for extended sick leave to deal with severe depression. For a year and a half, she lived off monthly payments from health insurance. However, her insurance company turned off benefits after she posted photos of herself on Twitter at a beach resort with the hashtag #SoMuchFun and loving life. And in 2010, the United States and Israeli governments joined forces to hack Iran's nuclear facilities. They planted a worm known as Stuxnet on the computers controlling Iran's centrifuges and watched as it rendered 1/5 of them inoperable. All of these events bring to question the idea of internet security. Does it even exist? We all assume that we are secure when roaming the web and that our information is only in the hands of people we trust. Yet either by the fault of our own ignorance or by the hands of malicious hackers, millions of people have their information stolen every year. Who is to blame? What can be done about it? For at least some of this, we as internet users have to attach some blame to ourselves. We trust our devices far more than we actually should. A recent report shows that less than 30% of smartphone users have security apps installed on their phones, while more than 65% use their phones to store sensitive information. As the market continues to move towards more smart devices utilizing mobile operating systems like Android or Apple's OS X, it is alarming that social consciousness about mobile security is not also evolving at the same speed. After all, we are thoughtlessly entering our credit card numbers and bank info into these devices and placing blind faith in the developers of the mobile operating systems to secure our data. This mindless behavior puts users at risk of having their identity stolen or being the next victim of fraudulent activity. There is also the fact that we are willing to divulge almost anything about ourselves on social networking sites like Facebook, including our backgrounds, personal preferences, associations, and private photos. Yet it is no secret that Facebook is in fact a capitalist company that profits from selling user data to third parties. Those ads that pop up while you're surfing the web were designed specifically for you. Furthermore, having the ability to set your own privacy settings may give you a false sense of security. But consider that although you are restricting access to your information from the general population, Facebook has access to everything you post, and they can store that data forever and use it however they see fit. Do you trust Facebook to use your private information with integrity? Another thing we should consider is that many of us believe that the matter of internet security is purely a tech problem that should only be dealt with by techies. But in this day and age, when we are all using the internet and computers to do our work, is it wise to assume that the techies have got our backs? Many of the problems we deal with come from the ignorance of higher-up management. People who may not see the value in adding that extra security check on their servers. Who is aware that configuration of firewalls and the implementation of proper encryption is not a requirement to many companies, but just a guideline? For so many of our security breaches, We have the technology to prevent them, yet we simply don't. For example, the Target hack of 2009 resulted in 40 million customers having their information stolen, but the breach was actually discovered hours before it was stopped. What's alarming is that at the time of the attack, Target had just finished installing a $1.6 million malware detector made by a security firm called FireEye. FireEye is monitored by a team in Bangalore 24/7, and on Saturday, November 30th, the FireEye system noticed the hack. The Bangalore team immediately sent word to the security team in Minneapolis, who proceeded to do nothing. Target CEO and security team have been questioned repeatedly, both by the public and by the courts, in over 90 lawsuits, about what exactly went down in the hours that happened between the detection and shutdown of the breach. And no one has gotten a straight answer. Another thing to consider is that the primary method malware ends up on corporate networks is something we should be wary of to begin with: internet pornography. An article published in Time magazine in 2013 reports that from a sample of over 200 corporate networks, 40% of these had to have malware directly associated with pornography removed from the CEO's personal devices. Though the general populace could stand to become a bit more tech-savvy to ensure their own online security, or at least to improve their awareness of security threats, we have to realize that even the greatest minds in computer science cannot make things as secure as we would like them to be. If everything was secure and there were no bugs in our systems, nothing would ever be hacked. What computer worms and viruses do is take advantage of a defect that is already on your machine. These defects are known as 0 days, as in they have been known for 0 days, and lately there has been a huge demand for them. That's right, 0 days are for sale. There are companies all over the world that are paid thousands of dollars to find bugs in software and supply methods to exploit them. Now, many of these companies provide their services to the creators of software as a kind of double check, yet their clientele isn't 100% full of good intentions. In fact, many of these companies contract out to national governments. NSA, anyone? This also explains why worms such as Code Red that I mentioned earlier are able to spread so fast. Code Red used what is known as buffer overflow. Think of a buffer as a section of memory waiting for input. What Code Red did was, instead of inputting something like cookies, it input thousands and thousands of the letter N until it overflowed that particular section of memory. Once a section is overflowed, the bug could find itself surrounded by entirely different information, such as IP addresses, server names, locations, etc., all stored in memory. Obviously, there are ways to prevent this, and the lack thereof was the bug in the Microsoft IIS server. Unfortunately, once the creators of the worm found the bug on one machine, they knew it was already on hundreds of thousands of machines. Considering the fact that there is an entire market devoted to the buying and selling of 0-day bugs, you would have to imagine that they are pretty common. Well, they are. It is impossible to find a piece of software without any bugs. The problem is that some are more hidden than others. The unfortunate thing we have to consider is that while we as society have the ability to write the amazing software we have, we also have the ability to exploit it. With the advancement of computer science also comes the advancement of hacking. It's the same stuff, just one is used for good and the other for evil. We need to recognize this and take steps as individuals to protect ourselves and to boycott companies that refuse to protect us. Thank you.